Welcome back to the Waiver-Wire show right here on the Bleacher Report app and YouTube page with your host, Justin Henry and Prabhat Parmar. And if you're here, that means you made it to the second round of your fantasy playoffs. Congratulations to you. And yes, we're going to be talking about all the questions that you have upcoming, but we also are going to talk about waiver wire additions you need to make because we did have a hectic week 15, P. We saw a lot of injuries. We saw duds. It was kind of the wild, wild west for the first round of the fantasy playoffs.
Yeah, it was definitely a doozy. You probably seen a lot of scores that were low. You've seen some studs that you relied on that just did not perform. But if you made it here, man, one more win and you're in the money. So let us help you get there.
Yes, so that's what we're going to do. And there was a lot of injuries. We had Pat Mahomes suffer a torn ACL. Hopefully, they're saying he's getting a second opinion, so hopefully we can get different news. But Pat Mahomes out. Devontae Adams dealing with a hamstring injury. He's going to be week to week. Christian Watson left the game with a shoulder injury. Woody Marks left the game yet again with an ankle injury. Romo Dunze was trying to come back from injury. Everybody thought he was good until 5 minutes before game time, and then we find out he re-aggravated his foot injury. So there's just a lot of injuries overall, and you got to have your head on the swivel in the fantasy playoffs at all positions, P. Not just the premier positions, but it could be a lot of different things. Who is your primary pickup for this week?
Yeah, so my primary pickup is somebody who's a beneficiary of the injury, actually to Devontae Adams, right? So Colby Parkinson. So look, man, he has been flying under the radar in a lot of leagues. Colby Parkinson is just about 10% owned and one of the biggest beneficiaries of Devontae missing time. We don't know how much time Devontae is going to miss, but by the way that he pulled up from that injury, it looks like it could be a week to week thing. But we'll keep you updated on that. But look, man, he's been Mr. Consistent, flying under the radar. 6 TDs in his last 6 games. This most recently, 7 targets, 5 catches, 75 yards, and 2 touchdowns. So reached the end zone twice. And if you're watching that game, that first one could have been a little bit questionable, but they count it, so I'm counting it. But look, they utilize him a lot in the red zone here. Devontae Adams was one of the biggest red zone threats, and at times the only red zone threat with that formation that they ran on the 5 yard line. Now, a lot of that I anticipate going to Colby Parkinson's. He is going to be the biggest beneficiary. I mean, you can really I wouldn't really lean towards some of the other wide receivers. I think they're going to be sporadic, like Tutu Atwell, Jordan Whittington. I think Colby Parkinson, if he's available there for you, especially in TE premium leagues, this is still a great offense, still a great offensive mind. And yeah, so if he's out there, this is my primary pickup just because of how many red zone looks he's going to be getting.
Yeah, and this is kind of, one of those wild cards because we didn't even know at the beginning of the season if it was going to be Colby Parkinson. Tyler Higbee was supposed to come back from injury in the middle of the year. They drafted Terrence Ferguson in the second round. So this is kind of, one of those late season things where we're seeing him get more involved in the offense. And, you talked about it. This team needs options in the red zone. Puka, yes, he will have the yardage. He's not used as heavily in the red zone as Devontae Adams and Kyron Williams. So when Devontae is out, they need to have another big body in there. I'm sure Nakua is going to be a beneficiary, but Colby Parkinson stepping into a very nice role as a tight end for this Rams team. Speaking of another NFC West team that has had an injury, Bam Knight was carted off, and we saw that this weekend. And this team also was dealing with injury to the position. Trey Benson was supposed to come back from IR. He's going to be out for the year. So now steps in Michael Carter, and we've seen him in this spot before, and it's not the sexiest thing in the world. Michael Carter is not going to have 30-point games and 150 total yards with 3 touchdowns, but he gets the job done as an RB2. And I think for those teams that are struggling right now for a consistent 15 to 10 point flex option, somebody is going to get work. I think Michael Carter does provide an option. Now, he may have to split work with Amari DiMercado. That remains to be seen because this Cardinals backfield, P, it's been one of those where sometimes we see them really lean on one guy. We've seen them split work. But when you see 14 carries, okay, Michael Carter's going to be involved in the offense, and they are able to move the ball downfield with Jacoby Brissett. So I think right now, Michael Carter isn't the greatest name in the world to pick up. I'm not expecting him to take over the fantasy playoffs. But for those who are looking for a bump up at maybe a flex position or you're struggling at RB2, I think you could do worse.
I think you can do a whole lot worse. I mean, they're going to be coming up playing Atlanta in week 16, and Atlanta is not that good against the run. They're pretty good against against the pass and wide receivers and whatnot. But I think Michael Carter is in a big spot here. I think he could really show out. They utilize him in the pass, and he's fast and one of those fast twitch guys. So I could see him with a safe floor of about like 12 fantasy points in PPR. So yeah, just like you said, you could do a whole lot worse. Has crazy flex appeal in my opinion.
Crazy flex appeal. Listen, those are a couple of pickups to get started, but we do want to get to your guys' questions right here on the Bleacher Report app and on the Bleacher Report YouTube page. You guys continue to ask us questions throughout the show, and we will get to them. Let's kick it off, P, with a starter sit question for this week from Cleve Penn, number one. Do I start Breece Hall or Tyrone Tracy? The question we never thought we would be asking here in the second round of the playoffs for multiple reasons. Which New York running back are you starting, P?
You know what? It's hard. It's hard to go away from Breece Hall. Um, and so I'm just gonna stick with Breece Hall because that backfield in the Giants has been a little unpredictable himself. Sometimes it's Singletary, sometimes it's Tyrone Tracy. And if you're choosing between the two at this point, I would not like think about how much regret you would have sitting Breece Hall for Tyrone Tracy and he puts up like a predictable Tyrone Tracy game. So I'm going Breece Hall. I don't know. Do you feel any different?
Yeah, no, I'm with you right there on Brees Hall, and it's he has the upside you're looking for. Like you said, Tyron Tracy, he's coming off of a strong game, but this Giants offense isn't going to be in a very high scoring matchup coming up. So I'm rolling with Brees Hall in this one.
Yeah, and they're going against
The
Minnesota
next
too,
question,
so
yeah, it can get a little ugly in that one. Anthony 1122 asks Zay Flowers or Cortland Sutton, both of whom are kind of in the same realm to me, P. Both of these guys are like wide receiver two-ish. Cortland Sutton obviously having a really good season. I'm going to go with,
yeah.
you got to kind of look at Sutton for me in this one. And it's not by much, but I think he offers a little bit more touchdown appeal, a little bigger game potential than Zay Flowers, who's been having a really nice stretch of his own here as of late, especially since Lamar's been banged up. But give me Cortland Sutton in this one.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Cortland Sutton as well. Like Cortland Sutton started off really hot. Had a lull in the middle of the season, but has really picked it up since coming off of that bye. Zay Flowers, he's a little unpredictable. He has good games, he has duds. I'm just concerned that he's gonna be followed by a towering quarterback in Christian Watson. So don't want to take that chance. Give me Cortland Sutton.
Cortland Sutton it is. And the next one came in from Max Power 14, said Travion Henderson or Quinshon Judkins after we've seen Travion Henderson go crazy, the two long touchdowns there in the game. Who do you got, Travion Henderson or Quinshon Judkins?
Look, this is okay. So we got to win to get in the money. And just like my advice last week to end the show, you want to play a ceiling. Quinshon Judkins is a floor play, is going to give you, he's going to get you at least 10 fantasy points. Henderson can blow the top off for you. So give me Henderson. You got that type of, big play ability that he has, and he's showed this, sporadically and most recently last week. Give me Hen Dog.
I mean, Travion Henderson can go one play and get more than Quinshon Judkins does in a whole game. We haven't seen Quinshon Judkins have a 20-point game since like week 3, week 4. Give me Travion Henderson. I'll take the upside all day long.
Facts.
Dev Dog came in with the question, who do I start? Kyron or
Ooh,
Etienne, and Pickens or Mike Evans? A very good question here as we've seen Travis Etienne went crazy with Trevor Lawrence in the receiving
yeah.
game. Kyron, obviously, a vital part of the Rams offense. Which running back are you starting, P? Kyron Williams, Travis Etienne.
Oh, you know what? This is I'm gonna go with all right, I'm gonna go with woo, this is a good one. I think I'm going to go with ETN. I think I'm going to go with ETN for a few reasons, right? It's really close. Um, Seattle's run defense is really good. They've also been working up the backup running back there and for the Rams. So I'm going to lean ETN. He's riding off a high, had a huge game, and I like it. I like his chances against Denver more so than Kyron's versus Seattle. So I'm going to lean ETN there.
Yeah, this Jags offense is running hot. I probably would still go Kyron here just because of the touchdown upside. Last one there, real quick on that one was George Pickens, who's been kind of struggling as of late with versus Mike Evans, who came back from the injury, played well last week. I'm going with Mike Evans on that one yet again. Can you see that any different?
Not at all. One thing about Mike Evans is they're going to try their darndest to get him to that 1,000 yard mark. And, they put up the stat, oh, he needs to average 200 a game from here on out. So I'm going Mike Evans, and mark my words, he's going to be a league winner.
Woo, league winner Mike Evans. I ain't mad at that, P. Last one before we get back into the free agent, the waiver wire pickup, excuse me. Lamar Jackson or Jared Goff. And P, there is no way in hell I
Mm,
thought we would have this conversation. Lamar Jackson
crazy.
or Jared Goff. But this is one we gotta have. Who are you taking, Lamar or Goff?
Look, man, Lamar has been extremely disappointing against teams that he should be putting up numbers and racking numbers in. You have to go Jared Goff. Safe floor, still a high ceiling, not as high as Lamar, but the risk is just there's just too much risk there. Give me Jared Goff.
Yeah, I'm a big Lamar Jackson guy, but I am concerned a little bit about, are they gonna hold back his running still? Like he had 7 carries, kind of around 7 carries over the last couple games, and then we only saw 2 carries last game. So I don't know. He's starting to look a little bit more like the Lamar we're used to seeing, and he could pop off, but against a tough New England team, give me Jared Goff as well. All right, let's get back into the list. P. And one of the major injuries that was suffered was Pat Mahomes. And if you happen to make it without Pat Mahomes, chances are, or with Pat Mahomes having a bad game, chances are you may be looking for a quarterback. Is there anybody out there for those leagues where people are hoarding quarterbacks? Is there anybody you think has enough juice over the next 2 weeks, P, to help fantasy lineups?
I do. I got one for you. So Tyler Shook. Look, we've talked about him a little bit last week, and this is a rookie that has shown a lot of consistency against good defenses as well. So most recently against Carolina, Tyler Shook is really somebody who has a decent floor. We've seen the last few games he's put up some rushing upside, which protects that floor for you, and the upside is just there. So. 18 plus fantasy points in 4 of his last 5 games. 2 of those games were against Carolina, which is pretty good against the quarterback. So that should tell you something there. Yeah, so I'm going him. He's proven a lot. I've talked about last week how the offense that he's in is really good for quarterbacks, and it looks like he's just getting a grasp. And look, week 16, what better matchup than the Jets, right? So give me Tyler Shook
Yeah.
against the Jets and safe floor. And I'm hoping in week 16 that we can see the ceiling and what that looks like.
You and I, we've been talking about Tyler Shook over the last couple of weeks, and it's like maybe he's not the greatest fantasy quarterback. I don't think he's going to score 4 touchdowns or do anything like Trevor Lawrence did last week, but he is a good floor play, like you mentioned. And he's had, we've seen the rushing touchdowns be there. We've seen the passing touchdowns be there. It's over 200 yards in a lot of his starts. So I think Tyler Shook does provide a good floor. And, like you talked about, this Jets defense just fired their defensive coordinator. So it's at the end of the day, we know this
Steve
team is trying to make
Wilks.
wholesale changes. And Tyler Shook, it's not the greatest name in the world, but if you lost Pat Mahomes, it's either Tyler Shook or you're picking up Gardner Minshew. And for me, I'm picking up Tyler Shook in
Give
this
me
scenario.
give me Shook and when you play him, don't be shook.
Ooh, don't be shook. It might be a heavy burden to carry as I get into the next
We
player.
may sing them high notes like Luther. I don't know.
Heading into the next player, listen, you heard the hits. Luther Burden. And this is a player who, we talked about at the top of the show, just with the injuries, it's made things a little bit wild, but it's also opened up opportunities. And with Romo Dunze, who, at the beginning of the season, P, we thought Romo Dunze was going to be a top 15-ish type receiver with more upside than that. and he came crashing down to earth. And we've seen Luther Burden, since Roman's been hurt, really step into a nice 6 to 7 type target role. And I really like what he's doing on the field. And, he's a little banged up himself here, but becoming part of the offense as we're seeing Caleb do some things that's not always on the scoreboard, right? Like, not always. You see Caleb kind of improvising and really coming into his own as a quarterback, even though it hasn't been there stat wise yet. I think Luther Burden has been a big beneficiary of this. And, he's one of those players, people, where I don't enjoy starting a player like Luther Burden because he doesn't possess that like super high upside. I've talked about that about a couple players. But at this stage in the fantasy playoffs, you have your guys, you have your 40-point threats, you have your 30-point threats. You need players who will get you a consistent 10 to 15 on top of that. So if there's not anybody on waivers that has the upside of a 30-point play, Luther Burden is the definition of a guy who will get you 13 to 15 fantasy points. I love the pickup here.
Yeah, no, I'm right there with you. Look, Ben Johnson is a supreme offensive mind. We've seen that through his years in Detroit. Luther Burden was one of his first two picks. And so you figure that he's just working his way in this offense. This guy does possess a lot of speed. We've been seeing throughout the season that they've slowly been working him into the offense. And, the Roma Dunce, the fact that he's been out is just really giving all the opportunity for Luther Burden. So they create plays for him. They use him on the outside. They use him downfield. So yeah, no, I'm right there with you on Luther Burden. I think he's definitely a strong pickup. And yeah, so I'm right there with you on him.
Yeah, and they got a matchup this week up against Green Bay. And you talked about with Micah Parsons gone, it might make things a little bit easier for Caleb Williams. So good point there, P. All right, let's get back into the questions. They're coming in hot and heavy. You guys continue to ask us questions. We will get you guys right for the fantasy playoffs. P, let's talk about this one. J Ward 976 needs help. He said in half point PPR, he needs two. And it's just crazy. When I say the names, it's gonna be like, man, we shouldn't be having this conversation right now. Justin Jefferson, Emeka Ibuka, Lad McConkey, Jalen Waddle, or Jacoby Myers. I mean, that's five names. This is half point PPR. We're talking about, hey, should I bench Justin Jefferson? Should I bench Lad McConkey? Am I benching Jalen Waddle? These are three guys that we thought would be top 15 to 20-ish wide receivers. Which two are you starting, P? Mecca Ibuka, Justin Jefferson, Lad McConkey, Jalen Waddle, Jacoby Myers.
Okay, so here's what I'm gonna do. This is tough. So look, I'm confident in Justin Jefferson. He has not been good with nine or the other JJ there, but JJ looked like he took a step forward and stepped into his own and was very close on a lot for Justin Jefferson. Just missed him on red zone targets, so he's still getting the red zone targets, and I think that they're going to click here. So I'm leaving Justin Jefferson in. You don't want to have him benched at the game that he has a breakout in the semifinals. You just don't. And then at that point, it's tough between McConkey and Waddle. Both have really good matchups, but I'm gonna lean. I'm gonna lean. Uh, Give me Waddle. Give me Waddle out of the two because Waddle going against Cincy in Miami. So if it was in Cincy, it'd be different, but they're playing in Miami. Looks like it's going to be a shootout. Give me Waddle right there. So I'm going Waddle and Jettas.
I think, I don't know, man. This is one of the harder decisions you're going to have
Yeah.
to make, my man. I think Emeka Ibuka is clearly out of this. Like with
Yeah.
Mike back, Godwin's
Yeah.
back. Emeka Ibuka hasn't really been anything. I think he's clearly out of this. I also think Lad is kind of clearly out of this because
Yeah.
if you're going to start Lad, just start Waddle, right? The only thing about Waddle that I'm concerned about is Mike McDaniel's comments about they're not sure if Tua's, after Tua's bad game, they're not, everything's up for grabs. Kind of concerned it would be like Quinn Ewers there, but I'm not even mad at that because that means they probably have better quarterback play than they've been getting with Tua.
Yeah.
Waddle's in for me. Now it comes down to Justin Jefferson and Jacoby Myers. I think this is the big one because Jacoby Myers is legit been playing like a wide receiver two, and Justin Jefferson has been playing like a wide receiver three.
Yeah.
To me, I'm with you though. I don't know how I can bench Justin Jefferson in a must-win scenario in the fantasy playoffs that I took with my number one pick, and then he goes off on my bench and I lost. I couldn't live with myself. Give me Justin Jefferson.
Yeah, and just one comment on Jacoby Myers. Look, he's been going crazy. He's been doing good. they've made a conscious effort in Brian Thomas Jr. coming back, being healthy, and getting him the ball. And so when you're looking at the matchups, Jacoby Myers looks good, but he's also going against Denver. So if you're playing that, if that's going to help you out, you know, yeah, I'm going Waddle and Jettas, baby.
Yeah, I ain't mad at that. Can we trust Rasheed Rice still without Mahomes? And I think this is one of those answers where the resounding option to me is just no. Like, I don't trust Rasheed Rice, but who else are you going to start? Who else are you going to start over Rasheed Rice? Unless you have a rock solid option in there, he's still the leading receiver in this Chiefs offense. Gardner Minshew has never been sly about throwing the football around, but you do have to temper your expectations. You're not getting top 5 to 10-ish receiver Rasheed Rice. You're probably getting a more dialed back version of that with the ceiling capped a little bit. So unless you just have a rock solid option you're starting ahead of Rasheed Rice, I kind of think you're in a situation where you have to trust him. I mean, am I trusting him to have a big game? Absolutely not. Trusting him in my lineup depends on my bench. More than likely, I still am. Are you on board with that?
No, I'm not on board with that. I can't. I disagree with you wholeheartedly. I think you can trust Rasheed Rice. Like, you got to think. The way that they use Rasheed Rice is not like Justin Jefferson or CeeDee Lamb or anything like that. Like they throw a lot of short passes to Rasheed Rice. Like they throw anywhere between like within 10 yards. So that fits right up the wheelhouse of a quarterback that's just coming in. I think the role for Rasheed Rice is not going to change much. I think they're still going to craft routes for him should they get to the goal line, which is where he scores a lot of his touchdowns. I don't think he's definitely not going to be a top 3 to 5 wide receiver, but I wouldn't bat an eye if he's still top 10. I just think that that's the way that this offense is run.
I think
So
that's heavy ask for a Gardner Minshew led team that's out of the playoffs right now and probably going to be exploring all options that they have on their roster. But hey, me and you know what I'm saying? We go back and forth a lot on these things. So, um, next up, P, Tyler Warren or Harold Fanning. Now, we know the
Woo!
quarterback changed Philip Rivers. We saw Philip Rivers come back, P. You and I talked about this. Temper
Yeah.
your expectations a little bit when it comes to Philip Rivers. But
Pump
this
the
also
brakes,
did
yeah.
affect Tyler Warren a little bit, right? And
Yeah.
we've seen a lot of good Shador Sanders. We saw kind of the ugly Shador Sanders. And Harold Fanning, who was his main guy, they kind of knew teams are starting to key in on the fact that they're looking for Harold Fanning in a major way. Which one of these tight ends are you starting? For me, I think I'm gonna go with, I kind of like Fanning a little bit more in this scenario over Warren. I'm not sure where your head is.
Yeah, Fannin has been really up and down, and it's a lot to do with that Shador player, just how teams are playing Shador. Um, I'm not gonna go with Fannin in this one. If I remember correctly, the Bills' defense are really good against the tight end. Um, so I think you just have to go Tyler Warren. I think that they're going to be like, hey, Philip Rivers, thank you for stepping in service at 44, 1 year off the couch, or 1 week off the couch watching this, trying to read defenses, and you're doing what you can. Tyler Warren is a weapon of ours. Utilize him for those short passes that you like to do coming back. I'm going to go with Tyler Warren. I just got to. I got to.
Monday
I
night
got
against the
to.
Niners, huh? We'll see how it go.
Yeah.
Couple speaking of the Niners, couple Brock Purdy questions here. Let's go rapid fire on this one. Are we going Brock Purdy or Dak? I like Brock Purdy a little bit more than Dak in this one. Who are you taking?
I think I'm gonna go Dak. I think I'm gonna go. Oh, you know what? I think I'm gonna go Brock Purdy. I'm with you on that because Dak is playing the Chargers and their defense is pretty good. Their secondary is pretty
Yeah.
good. So yeah, give me Purdy.
Yeah, and then last one, Jacoby or Purdy, kind of a similar scenario. We saw Jacoby play really well against Houston. They got, obviously Texans defense. They played decent against, played good, excuse me,
Pretty,
against the
yeah,
Texans
20
defense. And you
fantasy
got the
points.
Falcons. Yeah, then you got the Falcons coming up. You got Jacoby Brissett, Brock Purdy.
This is a good one. I'm gonna lean towards Brissett in this one. I think that that's going to be a shootout over there. Indy's got a good defense, and I could see the Niners really getting ahead, or maybe even if we are ahead, then leaning on ball control. Whereas, regardless of what the situation is in Arizona, Brissett's going to air that. He's going to air it out.
You're gonna air it out. I'm still going Brock Purdy. And one of the reasons for this, P, is Monday night. Sometimes you got to have a little Monday night love in the fantasy playoffs. I'm going Brock Purdy in this one, man. Decent matchup against the Colts. Hopefully, we see good Philip Rivers so we can get a little scoring in that one.
Yeah, well, hopefully
Um,
we can see him hit
we,
the
you know, we
buggy.
talked about we talked about receivers, P, and we talked about a rookie receiver in Luther Burden right before the chat. And you guys
Yeah.
continue to ask the chats because we're going to answer that throughout the show. But do you got another rookie receiver that we should be looking at for this week?
I do. I do. We've been talking about there's a few rookies on this list. We got three rookies, man. Look at us. But yeah, I think one of the biggest beneficiaries of the injury to Christian Watson is Matthew Golden. This is somebody who you should prioritize picking up. Why? Because look, we're in the fantasy playoffs. You got to play for upside. He is the only wide receiver that can step into that role for those big plays that Christian Watson was doing so well this year at. As a matter of fact, as soon as Christian Watson went down, we seen a big catch for a good amount of yards down the field from Matthew Golden, and it was a good one, right? He was looking, running down the field, switch shoulder, and he had a nice outside shoulder catch. That shows maturity. That shows that he's looking like he's learning the part as a rookie, right? It's all being thrown at him at once, and that was against a solid secondary in Denver as well. So he's going to fill that role really well, in my opinion. He's the only one that really can stretch the field of those wide receivers with ease. Just, he runs a really fast 40. So I think he's going to fit into there really well. Pick him up. He's looking like he's maturing as a rookie. That high upside and ceiling is what you want to chase in the fantasy playoffs. You could do a whole lot worse.
Yeah, because those were the catches that he wasn't making as often early in the year. And they were always available. It felt like, the early part of the season, Pete, we were like, man, Matthew Golden, pick him up. Man, Matthew Golden, stash him. Matthew Golden,
Yeah.
like he's a good start. Like there was times we were talking about him, and then he started pouting, and then he got injured, and then we seen Christian Watson come back. Jaden Reed is back now. So it kind of feels like Matthew Golden is a forgotten piece in this offense. The only thing is at this point, it's tough to start him. Obviously Christian Watson's out. You're hoping that he gets one of those deep catches, but he's also not really a huge red zone guy. And you have to pray that the connection with him and Jordan Love is there. And so I hear you on Matthew Golden. I think it's a good pickup. It's just with 2 weeks left. I don't know if I would trust him this week or even next week. So that's the only hard
Yeah.
part I see with that.
No, I feel you. I mean, it's one of those things where it's like, hey, all the teams that you're going to be playing in the playoffs are good, right? If you happen to have injuries to Devontae Adams, Christian Watson, any one of those 100 names that we named earlier, and you need a high upside guy to play, you know what I'm saying? And you're going against a top team, like this is the semifinals. You're obviously going to be going against a good team. If you're in a league with bonuses, then that's a plus for you. You have to throw guys out there in your lineup. Have a balanced lineup as well with guys that can make big splashes. This is what you're looking for if you're in that case.
Yeah. And you do need some upside. I'm going to talk next about a player, P, that doesn't have a whole lot of upside, but may have a starting role, and that could help you, especially if you're in those deeper leagues. So this is for those 14-team leagues or maybe some of your deeper 12-team leagues, and you need a flex spot start. Audric Estime is worth a pickup. Now, this is not a name I typically talk about, even when he goes with Denver. Not really excited about an Audric Estime type play, but with Devin Neal potentially missing this game if he is out, Alvin Kamara, we still have no word if he's ever going to come back this season, and I seriously doubt it unless for some reason he comes back this week. This isn't a great pickup. This kind of reminds me a little bit of Michael Carter, but it's also a good secondary option if you do miss on Michael Carter or you don't have Fab or you have a low priority waiver priority. Audric Estime could see some good work. Now, he may be splitting carries, but if there is no starter declared, I want to say this is just more of a roster filling type move. I'm not overly excited about Audric Estime, but he has potential here with the starting role if he sees about 12 to 15 carries, potentially a red zone opportunity. This is more of a desperation pickup in your deeper leagues, not something to write home about. Audric Estime out there for those who are looking for running back.
Yeah, you know, he's one of those like Jags, like just a guy. But some of the positives is he gets targeted, right? And in the passing game, so in PPR, that's going to boost his value. And I mean, you could do worse, like you could definitely do worse. He's number 6 on this list for a reason, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I'm trying to
Number
think of some
six on
positives,
this list
maybe.
for a reason. Nah, you good. You good. Like you said, he's just a guy, but sometimes you need that in order to win your league. You got to have some players on your roster at this point who are just a guy. Let's get
Nice.
back to the chat speed before we get out of here. KV90 asked, should I start Gainwell over Warren? And I mean, you made a bold move and did that last week, Pete.
Yes, sir. Yeah, look, Gainwell's getting a lot of love, man. Gainwell's getting a lot of love in the passing game, in the rushing game. They utilize him as a weapon. Yeah, launch him out there.
Mm-hmm. KV90 also asked, I can only start one Loveland, Kincaid, or Parkinson. I'm gonna go Kincaid here. Or Colby, maybe I'm going Dalton Kincaid. I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm going Dalton Kincaid.
Look, man, these are good
King Mob,
choices. I would rank them Parkinson's, Loveland, Kincaid.
woo!
Yes,
King Mob
sir.
said, do I start Goddard or Waller at tight end? Waller off a strong two touchdown performance. Goddard off a strong two touchdown performance. I'm going Dallas Goddard. Even though it seems like he's more hot and cold, I'm still going Goddard.
I'm going Waller. I just can't trust him, man. Goddard kind of ruined me in the season. He is really hot and cold. I don't trust that passing game whatsoever if it ain't your boy who came up late in the season. Waller looks like he has a defined role where he's a target in the red zone. Give me Waller.
My opponent has CD and Ferguson. Should I start Dak to counter, or my other options are Drake May or Jacoby Brissett? Listen, I'm not benching Drake May in a win or take all scenario. Give me Drake May. I don't think you need to counter with Dak because if Dak has a bad game, you don't need. You can have a good game with Drake May. There's no need to do that, in my opinion.
Yeah, there's no sense of
And then the
countering.
last one, Pete.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, counter. You don't need to play defense like that. Gregorio P87 SP. He said, "Are you worried about Jaden Reed getting those targets over Golden though?"
No, they have two different roles. Jaden Reed is going to be working the intermediate. Jaden Reed's not a stretch the field type of guy. Golden is a stretch the field type of guy. Jaden Reed is he's going to be like a PPR type of guy there. So they have two different roles.
Well, appreciate all the questions that came in and trusting us with the fantasy advice for this week, guys. We talked a lot of waivers. We went over Colby Parkinson at the tight end position. For those who need it, Michael Carter, if the injury to Bam Knight is serious, it looked like it was since he got carted off. Tyler Shook, a quarterback option for those who are in thin quarterback leagues and lost maybe Patrick Mahomes. We have Luther Burden and Matthew Golden, both rookie receivers who have some promising upside. And then Audric Estimate for those deeper leagues and those thin at the running back position. It is the semifinals. We wish you guys all the best of luck. And listen, there's only one winner out of the four teams left. P, any parting words for the fans watching?
Yes, yes, yes. I said this last week. I'm going to say it this week. Upside, upside, upside. If you have a struggling player who has been inconsistent and struggling throughout the season, do not trust him outside of JJ. Do not trust him. Don't start your DKs over your Gainwells. You know what I'm saying? Like those types of look, upside over floor. Let's get it.
Hey, and talk yourself into a win. Don't be scared. Oh, I'm losing. Oh, my team is
Yeah.
bad. Nah,
Yeah.
you about to win your championship. And we will
Yeah.
see you guys on the next one. For Bob Parmar, myself, Justin Henry, it's been real. Peace out.